Hey everybody, this is the D2D Critic. This is episode 1, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what this show is about. We've been consulting hundreds and hundreds of sales reps all over the country in multiple different industries, from pest to water to freaking vacuums to roofing to satellite to all sorts of different industries. And now we're going to actually expose live door approaches, and I'm going to pick it apart. Some of these pitches are going to be funny. Some of them are going to be absolute flops. Some of them are going to have customers that are absolute dicks. Some of them are going to have the perfect fluid sales, and we're going to actually start to learn live and get some real-time feedback. So how the show works is simple. You submit your door approach filmed hidden camera, so you need to have a shadow, kind of hide like this, like just kind of act inconspicuous, and then you're going to submit that to us. We then decide based on our needs. We're going to say, okay, whose door approach are we going to put on the show? We're then going to pick the door approach apart, so you get to see your pitch in action getting picked apart. And then you're going to be able to access these videos on Door-to-Door University. So having access to DDU is going to be majorly critical to this, but you're going to now be able to see, okay, what are the minor little things that we never pay attention to? There's things that we pay attention to in a role play because it's like a controlled environment, but when you're hitting with a real live customer and you have cameras on and you're like, and you're nervous and you know that the money is on the line, you operate completely different. All right, so the first one we got right now is Christopher Slack in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now he's out slinging some solar, and as you can tell, we got, senior citizen here. She's wearing her solid moo-moo. And what was the interesting part about this, he sent me this video and I'm like, do you literally wear a turtle camelback knocking? And I'm like, I wonder what the strategy here is in this whole turtleback element.
Are your parents home? We're not allowed to talk to teenagers.
Nice. That's it. No, I only have.
Okay, whoa. Starts off with an icebreaker right off the bat. So he comes in and he's like, hey, are your parents home? Immediately, some 80-year-old lady's not going to be like, threw her off the bat. She's now backpedaling, and look at where her face is. She's automatically smiling. See this? So now immediately she's going to start to lean forward, and now watch his hand gestures and where he pulls them. So he's go icebreaker, boom. She's obviously kind of hesitant during COVID, right? So she's like, just set the card here. He's like, oh, obviously take the precautions. She's a senior citizen. She's at risk. He's like, totally cool, natural. I can set it there. He played to her strength right here. But one thing that he said a lot of people would never catch is he's like, hey, I'm really busy. I've got to go. I've got another appointment I got to run to or whatever he said. Great line to kind of alleviate some of this stress here. So watch the footwork here. Ready?
All right, so basically what's going on though, the reason why I stopped by your house specifically is you have the south-facing roof. So there are federal tax incentives that incentivizing homeowners to... And we already know...
Okay. Here's something important to pay attention to. So he said, the reason I'm stopping by. So many times people in a door approach never give the reason they're stopping by. So that's really good. But I want you to pay attention to where his body weight is. So his feet are actually spread out. So if you can see my feet, they look like this. That's how his feet look right now. So he has one foot coming in and one foot escaping because he said something like, hey, I've got to go. And what this is doing is it's actually conflicting where she's like, is he trying to come in or is he trying to leave right now? I obviously have no pressure on me because obviously he has one foot out. So we call this the 1 foot in, 1 foot out approach. So that's where he's standing. But he's got his body weight shifted like, let me show you something. But then he's able to kind of be like, no, but I got to go. So watch how he's going to push and pull in this door approach so that she doesn't feel a ton of buying pressure.
And we already know we can't afford solar. So.
Boom, first objection. You guys heard that, right? He hasn't said solar. So obviously she's like, this is solar, obviously. And then she goes, I already know I can't afford solar. Let's see how he responds to this. So pay attention because obviously you're going to get that objection quite a bit.
No, that's exactly why we're here.
Boom, that's exactly why we're here. So let's rewind this a little bit. So he obviously has what's called a micro-validation. Micro-validation versus macro-validation. Micro-validation is, it's just a boom, and I say, that's exactly why we're here. Perfect. Oh, awesome. Or, and then keep moving. So you're micro-validating. You're not like going into, oh, what do you mean you can't afford it? Let's talk about affording it. That's a macro-validation. That's like a big one. He just wants to hit him like, oh, perfect. That's actually why we're here.
So there are federal tax incentives that incentivize homeowners to...
And we already know we can't afford solar.
No, that's exactly where it is. You're on a fixed income. Yeah. Right. So there's a fixed income program. So basically, how it works.
Okay, look at her facial expression here. I want to like zoom in on this. You've got her kind of going, huh, I'm listening. Because why? He said, oh, well, there's an actual fixed income program that's specific for people on a fixed income. You're on a fixed income? Well, not everybody, like 1 in 4 is going to qualify for this program. And so now you've got her kind of like, I wonder if I'm going to qualify. You can tell with their eyes, you can tell with their body language, that's where she's at.
Yeah, I'll break it down for you real quick. Then I gotta get
See,
going.
boom. And I didn't even know where he was going with this, but immediately you saw the interest with her facial expression. And now she's like, all right, you got me. Tell me all about it. Ready? And now this is where it's an interesting move where he's going for his backpack, setting down stuff. She moves. Watch where he goes.
Okay, so basically what we do.
I'm out of here. Husband's like, all right, I'm taking over.
Ambient energy right now, right?
Give me first. Step back about 1 foot. Seriously. There we go.
Interesting. So she's like, this isn't my thing. You better talk to husband. So obviously husband's chilling right here and we can't see him. So husband's been listening. You get this. We call it like the, I don't want to get super involved, but let's see how my wife handles this kind of dude. honey, just tell him we're not interested. Tell him we're not interested. And so he's still playing cool. He's like, let me set some stuff down. Let me kind of make myself at home. And watch kind of the play of the husband. Watch where the body language comes at with the husband. So what does body language say here? I'm coming out.
So basically what
Shut
we
door.
Do, so the money that you're paying towards ambient energy right now, right?
Give me first. Step back about 1 foot. Seriously. There we go. Perfect.
Wait a minute. He's filming. Check this out. He's got his phone up and he is literally filming Chris. This is not normal. Check this out. Rewind that. Look. I'm assuming that's what it is. He's like, hold on, step back. You can tell the guy's like super put off. Watch this.
Give me first. Step back about 1 foot.
Step back about 1 foot. He's like, I don't even like you. Seriously. That's a tone of like, seriously. Dude, who are you? He's coming at him aggressive. Look at where his phone is. Nobody holds their phone just naturally like that.
Yeah,
So
but the difference is at your age, if you catch the bug, you're going to get sick and be miserable. At my age, with everything I have going on, you plan my funeral.
Yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
difference.
Absolutely. You know, I take that very seriously too.
I take that very serious. He's validating that. He's like, 100%, I'm on your side. You tell me, I'll be 20 feet if you need. I got a walkie-talkie in the back pocket if you need it. Like, you're doing whatever it takes for a guy like this with a cane. He's coming out very, very concerned. Like, dude, don't let the bug in.
So basically how it works, so the money that you're giving to ambient energy, so we stopped doing that, right? Now the government, they're incentivizing homeowners. They pay you a federal tax credit, and then the install is free, and then afterwards you have a lower electricity.
If you owe no taxes, is there a refundable tax credit or not?
Yeah, there is.
Boom. So what is this saying? This is so important. He says, if you owe no taxes, is there a refundable tax credit? So the solar tax credit is a non-refundable tax credit, not a refundable tax credit. Most homeowners would not know a thing about the difference between refundable and non-refundable. What is this telling me? It is telling me that homeowner has looked into freaking solar and has realized he's on a fixed income and has realized he probably doesn't qualify for a loan because he's not going to get the tax credit, and somebody probably told him that. Let's see where Chris goes with this. I'm actually kind of curious.
There's programs for that, which we could try. Like I said, it doesn't work out for everyone. What we would do is run the report, see if we could actually bring your bill lower than where it's currently at, and then we can switch you over without.
We're currently about 100.
Okay, so what he did, so Chris took this approach, and I don't know if I would have gone this way. I honestly, I'm kind of like torn. So Chris is like, I'm going to roll over the whole tax credit thing, and I'm just going to go, honestly, I don't know if it works, which is a great approach in the sense of, I'm going to pull back, hey, let's just run some numbers, doesn't hurt anybody, it's free, like whatever, and let's see where you're at. So what's your average bill? And he transitioned him out of the whole tax credit world. In this situation, you could say, I might ask a question. This is where I probably would have taken a different route. This is one route, we'll call this just roll it over, right? But I could have said, okay, obviously you've looked into solar, like tell me what you guys have already kind of found. And now the homeowner might be like, well, the last guy that came by, what did he quote you at? Like, and he told you couldn't qualify because of what? And then what? And then kind of tell me your last experiences. So that way, I'm not going to be shooting in the dark and taking the same stinking approach the last guy did, because that's obviously why he doesn't have solar on his roof. I'm going to try to take a different angle than the last guy, and then I don't know what angle the last guy took. All I want to do is make myself different than the last guy. And right now, you're kind of going on the same route the last guy probably went to, and then he probably got to the whole tax thing, and then he probably failed there. And so you could save yourself a lot of time and energy if it's like, the guy's not going to qualify. Let's save ourselves some time and energy. Let's get out of here. So let's ask some questions, qualify them right now, instead of going through 3 visits and the whole thing doesn't even work anyway if you can only offer a loan. Obviously, you switch to a PPA, or you could say, well, you do have any expendable income? It's okay. Let's see if we can't make it make sense without the 30%. Like, there's a couple angles, but it's a little bit more of a long shot depending on your market, right? So let's see where it goes.
There's programs for that, which we could show. Like I said, it doesn't work out for everyone. What we would do is run the report, see if we could actually bring your bill lower than where it's currently at, and then 2, we can switch you over without coming
We're currently about 100.
See how he took the bait. He just steamrolled it. You transitioned him out of the whole tax thing.
Do you have all LED lights, or do you have incandescent bulbs?
Almost all LED or the CFL bulbs.
Okay. And then I don't know, have you lived in Vegas for a while?
Yeah.
So do you remember when the water district was incentivized?
Boom. This is an intentional loop, okay? So a lot of people don't realize they do it, but if you can do it intentionally, you can intentionally do an intentional loop. Now that's a tongue twister. What happens here is he's like, have you lived in Vegas for a while? What this is doing is it's taking the pressure off, and it's like, hey, let's go and talk about length of time, and then let's like confuse you with some random jargon he's about to go into. So listen to how he's intentionally bringing homeowner a little bit off of the typical path so that he can bring them back on with a much easier.
As far as your lights, do you have all LED lights?
The LEDs is a loop too. He's like, I thought we were talking about solar. Now you're talking about my lights. It throws them off a little bit.
Okay. And then I don't know, have you lived in Vegas for a while?
Yeah.
So do you remember when the water district was incentivizing homeowners to switch from landscape to rocks?
Yep, we did that.
Okay, so they switched out the meters as well. That was for the energy companies. They switched out the meters to 30 TA meters. That was like phase 1. Now it's phase 2.
He's keeping his interest. Obviously, the guy's interested in solar. He felt like he never qualified, but he's now keeping his interest through interesting new information that homeowner probably never had. That's why he's still standing comfortable customer. I'm going to keep listening to you.
Do you happen to have your MB energy bill?
Yeah, everything's done electronic.
Okay, cool. So what I could do then, basically, so we would prepare. I have full appointments today.
So now he knows he's about to go transition. So anytime you're about to go transition, a good rule of thumb is to pull back, then transition. So I've got a lot of appointments today. I'm super busy. So what that's doing is it's alleviating the tension. Like, I'm not really trying to sell you right now anyway. And now I can transition into getting your power bill and information.
On Monday, I could swing by, but I'll run the reports. I'll let you know if they, we can actually save money. Otherwise, I won't waste any more of your time.
It wastes your time too.
Yeah.
You don't get paid to waste your time.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So, but I'll run that for you. I'll let you know. Then, are you a numbers person? Numbers type of guy?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll make sure I have the numbers when I come back.
I take it you picked up on the sarcasm.
Okay, so he's playing a little serious jokey, and he's kind of like, you've got me comfortable. Let's start laughing. At this point, I would have leaned so hard into that. I would have totally spaced, and I would have totally forgot the whole power bill thing, and I would have been like, you seem like a cool guy, like, what do you do? Like, I would have taken him on to, like, let's just talk about life for a second, and this is the prime opportunity to do that.
All right, let's see. Monday, what's our schedule?
Okay, so now he goes into schedule appointment, and he did a perfect textbook set, and it'd be interesting to see how he firmed that up. So we didn't get that far. He didn't keep filming there because obviously the camera guy needed to use his phone. But what's interesting about this, and let's talk about this for a second. So he goes in, sets appointment, but if we would have kept filming, there's some feedback. If you're going to send us videos, there's some feedback that I got to give on how solid is that appointment. He's like, you're not going to want to waste your time. I'm going to run some numbers. I'm not even going to come back if the numbers don't make sense. So the guy's like, is this even a real appointment? Should I even be here? Obviously, they're both retired, so they're probably going to be home. But in the solar industry specifically, and I've been to a lot of companies, you have about a 50% show ratio. Well, that's not everybody. It's just standard. So how do I increase that to 60 to 70%? And what does that do to the end goal or the end result of my actual sales? If I can increase it by 10 or 20% on my show, and it has to do with how you're going to firm up the appointment. So future videos, we're definitely going to want to see how he transitions to you have to be here. Let's make sure you're here and has some confirmation to that. So anyway, overall, my assessment, let me give it kind of an overall blanket. Textbook, phenomenal. And obviously all these aren't going to be so perfect, but the things that he did well is a lot of good push and pull. A lot of good, like I'm not here to sell you. I'm here to just give you some information and see if it makes sense for you. Not everybody's a good fit, and he transitions in nicely. So good job, Chris. Way to go. And keep it up. We want to hear the success after the feedback.